after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. Transformations that take place when we are held within a religious community. When we light the chalice in worship, we illuminate a world that we feel called upon to serve with love and a sense of justice. Please join us in lighting our chalice by reading together the words on the screen and in your order of service. We gather in this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, celebration of the life we share together.
So as a non-creedal religion, as folks who come together in covenants that we make with one another to guide our going forth into the world, a key part of our maintenance of our covenant, of our ongoing shepherding of it, is to come back into covenant with one another. Our hope is that we set our sights high enough that we can't possibly fulfill them all. We're reaching for something really glorious, and so necessarily we're not going to achieve it entirely. And so the practice of just forgiving ourselves and each other for being just regular people, going through the world, doing the best we can, is a key part of this. And so I would invite you to join in our recovenanting, which takes some of our behavioral covenant, some lines from it, and just has a response to it of may we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. So for all the ways that we have neglected to expand our spiritual growth and faith in action, may we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. For all the ways that we have not committed our hearts and minds to building a community of caring, acceptance, and reconciliation, may we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. And for all the ways that we have not actively worked to build trust and respect in our community, may we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. And so these folks that we're recovenanting with, who are in this space together, I invite you to just turn and maybe wave to them. Say hello. Greet them with your smile if you feel moved. Maybe the folks who are joining us online over the camera. Hello to all those folks online. And then I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn 121, We'll Build the Land. Or we're really cherishing, the things that we're really struggling with. Thanks for turning up the mic. Whenever we gather, we have the opportunity to share with one another what is on our hearts. And so I will come around the room and just invite folks to share a joy or a sorrow, something that's been lifting you up or has been troubling you recently. It could be in your own personal life, could be something that's going on in the world. And in that, we can speak it and hold it together. Does anybody have a joy or a sorrow to share? Yes. Be seated.
I invite you now to open your gray hymnals and join me in reading aloud responsive reading number 470, by Leonard Mason. 470. I will read the regular text, and I ask you to join me in reading the italicized text. We affirm the unfailing renewal of life.
Rising from the earth and reaching for the sun, all living creatures shall fulfill themselves.
We affirm the steady growth of human companionship.
Rising from ancient cradles and reaching for the stars, people the world over shall seek the ways of
We affirm a continuing hope that out of every tragedy, the spirits of individuals shall rise to build a better world.
So we are starting a new series this week, and the intention here is to dig a little deeper into Unitarian Universalist theology. So for any of you who are at the 150th worship service, this will be a little recap for you, for those of you who weren't there. I encourage you to go back and watch it. It was a great time and also a really valuable experience. But basically, as I mentioned in the previous series, some of our underlying Unitarian Universalist theology, drawing on the words of Rebecca Parker, we think that we are beings that are generous, capable, and connected to one another and the earth. What is wrong with our society is that the lives of some are being exploited to benefit others. And we can address this by countering that exploitation and also manifesting a solid sense of enough and gratitude for life's goodness, showing a humble capacity to be part of the web of life. Or in the words of UU religious educator Lila Ibrahim, it's a blessing each of us was born. It matters what we do with our lives. What each of us knows about God is a piece of the truth, and we don't have to do it alone. So over the course of my time as a professional activist, I realized that while I had become really familiar with politics, what was missing for me was religion. As blogger Sarah Robinson wrote, while politics is about how we're going to make the world better, progressive religion tells us why it's necessary to work for change. We offer the essential metaphors and worldview that everything else derives from, the frames that give our dreams shape and meaning. And this is essential because all around us are frameworks that put at risk the global community of humanity, many diverse people who live across the whole earth, and the ecological systems of which we are a part. The framework makes all the difference. If we are given one kind of framework, then we read the story of Adam and Eve being placed in the Garden of Eden as one of humans being placed at the center of everything and given the authority to rule over it all. But if we're given another kind of framework, we can read the exact same story as one in which humans are placed among many other beings, their older siblings, with the responsibility to take care of and to be in responsible relationship with all of them. The framework makes all the difference. And we Unitarian Universalists don't have to start from scratch. We are the inheritors of what John Bjorns and Rebecca Parker describe as a communal theological house, built by those who lived, labored, and loved before us. Our social justice hopes have their origins in the ethical teachings of our own religious tradition. They're the same ethical teachings that gave rise to the movement for abolition and women's rights in the 18th and 19th centuries, the Christian social gospel movement of the late 19th century that inspired the progressive era in the early 20th century, the civil rights movement of the 20th century. The Roe v. Wade case made it to the Supreme Court because of the activism of liberal church women. The roots of this all are older, as I mentioned in the 150th, older than the fundamentalist movement, which started in the 1870s. Ultimately, much of this comes back to what we hope for and how we hope for it. And so I would invite everybody to reflect on a few questions for just a couple of minutes. So there's 3 questions that are in your order of service, and if you could bring them up on the screen as well, that would be great. And so in the order of service, they're not going to be on the screen. Okay, so in your order of service, the 3 questions there are, where are we going? What is the purpose of existence? And what is this horizon to which our lives are oriented? So these are huge questions. People have written many, many volumes on this. You're not going to come up with the ultimate answer. I promise you. Well, I'm pretty sure. There's the possibility you might come up with the ultimate answer. I don't want to tell you necessarily you won't, but it's unlikely. So just provisionally, when you consider these questions, whichever one of those speaks to you, they're all kind of different takes on the same general inquiry. And just to consider whichever of those 3 speaks to you, just for a couple of minutes while Greg plays some music for us. And once we finish with that contemplation to music, I'll invite folks into pairs to just share with what you reflected on. So Yes, I see a hand from somebody towards the front of the class.
Can you define we or our? What am I thinking when I'm thinking about these questions? The whole world, mankind?
Whichever. It's up to you. Wherever your mind goes. Wherever your mind goes. So just pick one. Don't try to do it all. Just pick one of those. Okay, great. So just, consider for silently to yourself, and then we'll discuss in a moment. So with wherever your mind went, whatever conjured up for you as you consider that, just pair up with one other person, maybe two at most, and of 2 minutes to just share a little bit, some headlines of what you considered, what came up for you, and then once we do that, then we'll transition into doing a little popcorn, sharing out to the room, and so I'm really curious to hear what you all came up with. So 2 minutes, I'll let you know when the time is up. And what did you hear yourself say? What did you hear somebody else say? What stuck out to you in that sharing just now? Anyone? Yeah.
1 and 3 are the same, death.
1 and 3 are the same, death.
Number 2 is the most important, what you're going to do on the way there.
Number 2 is the most important, what you're going to do on the way there. Okay, thank you, Carrie. Yeah. Other folks, yeah.
This past week, I have given the classmates of the class of 1960 hope, because where we were going for our class reunion, the cost was $6,000, and now we are going to the Shrine Club, and the cost is $300. So I have been on this all week, and that, I think, was the purpose of my existence all week.
Okay. Thank you. Did I see a hand back here? Yeah.
I think the second question, what's the purpose of existence? I think it's learning, like learning to better your soul. That's my opinion.
Learning to better your soul. Beautiful. Well, thank you, folks, for sharing that. Thanks for considering it, for sharing with each other. And as we explore the sermon, the worship service this morning, I would invite you to just feel into a little bit more, explore it more in your heart, and see where the inquiry leads you. And now we have a story that Sandy will tell.
The story is Two Frogs by Christopher Buisse. Once, two frogs were hopping around through the forest when they accidentally hopped into a big churn of cream. The sides of the churn were so slick and slippery that there was no place to hold on to, so the frogs had to swim in circles to stay afloat. After a long time, one frog said, "There is no hope. We're doomed to drown in this churn." The older frog said, "Don't lose hope. Life is a circle. There are bad times, and there are good times. One must endure the winter to see the spring." The young frog was not so sure, and he said, "You're wrong. We're going to die, I tell you." And the older frog said, "We must keep hope alive. For if hope dies, we too will die. But if we keep hope alive, we will live to see another sunrise." But the younger frog was already starting to lose hope, and he began to sink down into the creamy liquid. "Keep hope alive! Keep hope alive!" cried the older one. Then the younger one started repeating, slowly at first, "Keep hope alive! Keep hope alive!" The more they repeated the words, the stronger they felt, and the more strength they had, the better they could swim in circles. As they swam and swam around and around in circles, an amazing thing happened. They realized they weren't sinking anymore. The cream had turned to butter. The two frogs were able to hop off the butter and out of the churn. They landed on the ground just in time to see a beautiful sunrise. The older frog said to the younger one, "Remember, my son, life is a circle. Despair may last for a night, but joy comes in the morning." And the two frogs hopped away into the woods. Please join in singing the hymn, number 95, "There is More Love Somewhere." The words will be on the screen.